I love the second cycle trade. The second cycle trade is the best trade. So that's like Solana goes up first cycle, second cycle it gets battle tested, it has Lindy effects, it survives. People remain on chain, activity remains on chain. That buy you're going to make a lot of money from, and it's been de-risked. You can appreciate art and spend money, and you can buy stuff really cheap, and it doesn't matter if it goes up or not. But if you're trying to financialize it, which is make money from the opportunity as well, okay, it's harder. And it's like meme coins, right? If I look at the art market, there's tons of potentially great artists. I don't know how. So you need to get signal from noise. Now, whether that's joining a community where people discuss this stuff and you can learn and absorb, or whether it's following just the kind of attention you see online, that's usually where I get it from. It's just what kind of attention, who's following it, and not in a way of promoting something new. That generally doesn't work. But it's like, if it is an artist that is inexpensive or a project that's inexpensive, who's following it?
Bitwise CEO Hunter Horsley recently noted that Bitcoin's potential market includes not only the $16 trillion gold market, but also the more than $30 trillion in government bonds used as savings tools by institutions and individuals. This comment followed economist Mohammed El-Erian's warning that U.S. Treasury inflows are no longer a sign of safety. Investors are now turning to gold, silver, and increasingly Bitcoin, as traditional safe havens appear less reliable. As gold returns to its all-time high, Bitcoin is increasingly recognized as a hedge against inflation, global conflict, and growing economic uncertainty. Its digital nature and independence from the state give it an advantage in the context marked by budget instability. One of the main factors behind this development is the growing concern about the U.S. budget deficit. According to Raoul Pal, these types of coins will always do well, like Solana. Before we move forward, if you want to stay updated with the latest crypto events and news, you can subscribe to our channel and like this video. Now let's get back to Raoul Pal's view on Solana and the overall crypto market.
You need the business cycle, like the ISM survey, to be going positive and all-time high prices in ETH. When those things happen, it all comes back. And here's why I think it's going to happen. So I started laying that out in 2024. But the work to me was so compelling that I distilled it down to one simple thing. At the time, it was a $2 trillion market, the whole of crypto. And if I extrapolate out the log trend to about 10, 12 years, we get to 100 trillion. That would be the largest, fastest accumulation of wealth in all human history. That'd be 98 trillion of wealth. Now, maybe I'm wrong by 50%, it goes to 50 trillion. It's still the largest accumulation of wealth. And observe all rich people. They all buy art and technology meeting. And anything in technology meeting always is a revolution. And so that's when I started getting in my head, I need to start buying this stuff. And I simplified it down to my core thesis to start with, to make it easy, which is what is more important, art history or culture? And I said culture. So therefore, I'm just going to buy as much Xcopy and as much Beeple as I could afford. And Xcopy is brilliantly structured because you can start with Max Payne and Friends, which cost very little. Beeples were relatively cheap at the time. I was buying these things for 4 or 5, and they're now 20, 25, 30, stuff like that. But that was my start of it. So I built a huge collection of that, as much as I possibly could.
Bitcoin continues to show some stability despite rising tensions in the Middle East involving Israel and Iran. Recent military strikes against Iranian energy assets have raised concerns in financial markets, but Bitcoin remained virtually unchanged, suggesting a limited reaction to geopolitical news. Raoul Pal attributes Bitcoin's stability to global liquidity trends. He claims that Bitcoin closely tracks the global M2 money supply rather than political or military events. Pal's chart shows that Bitcoin reacts more to changes in global liquidity than to news or short-term market shocks. The correlation between M2 supply and Bitcoin has remained strong over the past 3 years. This trend has continued during global conflicts, interest rate changes, and election periods. At the time, oil futures rose more than 7%, reflecting investor fears about energy markets. Financial firm Alva warned of shipping disruptions, but this had no real effect on Bitcoin's price. Pal insists that increasing liquidity is the primary driver of Bitcoin's gains, not daily news. He believes that only a change in the global money supply would change Bitcoin's long-term direction, Therefore, Bitcoin's resilience supports the idea that macroeconomic forces matter more than news-related volatility. Paul's analysis provides investors with a simple framework for understanding Bitcoin's price direction. If global liquidity continues to grow, Bitcoin could experience a long-term price increase. While short-term fluctuations may occur, the long-term trend depends on monetary policies and liquidity levels. As tensions rise in the Middle East, Bitcoin's steady position confirms Paul's thesis. This reinforces the idea that central banks and institutions are driving Bitcoin's overall trajectory. Investors can now focus less on the news and more on the liquidity conditions affecting Bitcoin markets. Raoul Pal also warned that fiat currency savings were rapidly losing their value. He argued that holding more cryptocurrencies, especially as their prices remain attractive, and NFTs could help protect wealth against inflation. Inflation remains high around the world, eroding the purchasing power of fiat currencies. Against this backdrop of exponential monetary depreciation, analysts say investors are seeking stores of value amid rising cryptocurrency prices. Paul's view echoes a broader market narrative. He said there aren't enough cryptocurrencies, and if there aren't enough NFTs. These two types of cryptocurrencies will never be this cheap again. He even called NFTs the best long-term store of wealth he knows of, if bought before their wider adoption. His comments highlight the bet that cryptocurrencies could protect against liquidity losses linked to inflation. Data shows that cryptocurrency adoption is increasing globally. According to analyst AAA, approximately 6.8% of the global population will own cryptocurrencies by 2024, or roughly 560 million people worldwide. Even in the United States, an estimated 15 to 28% of adults own cryptocurrencies. These figures indicate that a growing proportion of the population owns digital assets, even if the majority of the global population has yet to adopt them. With fiat currencies losing value, some investors are looking to cryptocurrencies and NFTs as alternative asset classes. Cryptocurrency news shows that adoption is growing but remains limited overall, and that NFT markets have slowed significantly since their 2021 peak. Julian Battelle, research director at Global Macro Investor, estimates that the cryptocurrency market will reach a market capitalization of $100 trillion in 10 years. Scarcity is the bridge to Bitcoin. Bitcoin has generated purchasing power faster than any other asset in human history, with nearly 150% annualized growth outpacing the rate of depreciation since 2010. Battelle notes, while even the Nasdaq's exceptional 13% real return has fallen 99.94% against Bitcoin since the beginning of 2012, all of these factors influence his central projection. We are just at the beginning of a global race, a race by institutions, states, and individuals to accumulate as many Bitcoins as possible. According to his estimates, this boom will propel the cryptocurrency universe from the current $3 trillion to $100 trillion in the next 7 to 10 years. Battelle admits that the road ahead will be incredibly difficult and incredibly rewarding, both at its worst and its best, but insists that Bitcoin is part of the solution. Raoul Pal places Bitcoin in what he calls the banana zone, a reflexive phase where liquidity expansion and herd behavior interact to generate parabolic gains, with a cycle target of around $450,000 per cryptocurrency. Paul's estimates imply a Bitcoin market cap of over $40 trillion, even without altcoins, complementing Battelle's upper bound scenario.